Who's in the house? Your hair loss daddy is in the house, and I am raising the roof. Let's get to work. I received a comment on a video I made called, and this was a pretty recent one, male pattern baldness. Quote, give us a solution and tell us how to know if we're going to go bald. That was based on some comments that came in. Almost all of my videos about hair loss are. The person who left this comment is Rick. His name rhymes with my name, Nick. Here's the comment. Quote, hello Nick. I have been watching your videos for a bit here and wanted to see if you could help me in understanding my possible future hair loss. Mostly because I seem to be all over the place and what one would look out for to determine hair loss. So, one, I'm 23 years old now and my dad never went bald, though he only lived to be 58 years old. However, my dad went fully silver by the end of high school. My mom also grayed early too. So let's stop right there. Nick Shell teaches a theory that men who are not going to go bald are those who are going to be noticeably graying well before the age of 35. That's something I stand behind. It's a generalization, as all my theories are, and I'm okay with it not being 100%, being true 100% of the time. That's why they're theories. If we can learn from a general rule, then we can have a better idea of what might happen to the rest of us. So already, based on what we've seen in the comment, I'm going to say this guy's not going to go bald. And also the fact his dad was 58, even though his dad died at 58, for the most part, if you're, 35 is the determining age. So for me at 38, I seriously doubt I'm going to go bald on top in the next 20 years. I may be noticeably thinning out, but as far as bald, probably not. Because if it's going to affect you that way, it's probably going to do it sooner, much sooner than 58. All right, so going back to it, he says, my mom also grayed early too. Now I'm the only person in my family who I know who went bald is actually my mom's father. From what I could tell, he went bald somewhere between ages 35 and 40. Can't say if he could grow a full beard or not. My dad could, but I seem to be able to until we talk about my mustache, which typically doesn't seem to connect. And the middle of my lip is hardly noticeable. So again, weak facial hair, going gray early. Dad didn't bald, and he was 58 when he died. Everything is pointing in favor of this guy not going bald. He left this. All right, so he says, in fact, all the hair up there is fairly weak to the rest of my facial hair. But also, I'm a fairly hairy guy, and even having some growth on my shoulder and down the front of my neck, which I know my grandfather was like hairless, but my dad was decently hairy. I am white, consisting of mainly of Irish and German, which I don't know if people watching this video remember, but when I first, consistently, when I talk about the theory about men who are noticeably graying before the age of 35 and are typically the ones who don't go bald, I specifically mentioned Irish. And my brother-in-law is a prime example. He's 34 right now. I guess he's almost 35. Last name, Reynolds. Irish last name. Now, I don't know how much Irish DNA, I don't think he's taken a DNA test that I recall, but he's got noticeable gray hair. I don't, but I've got a noticeably receding hairline. He does not. And so it backs up this theory. If we're talking about Irish, and when I think about an Irish man, and easily we can think of examples to the rule, but again, we're looking at general rules here. If you're a man of Irish descent, I would have naturally assumed you're going to go gray early, but not be noticeably balding. That's what I'm going to say about you, and assume about you. I think that's the general rule. As of right now, I haven't experienced any noticeable hair loss, besides your typical daily hair that falls out during the shower and such. And by the way, people ask all the time, if I'm losing hair on my pillow or in the shower, and the answer is no. Because for me, my hair has thinned out. There's less to lose when you have less hair. So people freak out because they're losing hair. That's not a sign that you're losing your hair permanently. It just means you have more hair that's shedding. And I have less hair to shed, so I rarely see hairs on my pillow or in the shower. All right, so he says, I've begun to see silver hair here and there, though I'm definitely still noticeably brown. I'm in good shape and eat extremely well. I do take care of my hair fairly well too, with vitamins and not over-treating it. My 1-year-old photo shows me having hair with maybe a little bit of a receding hairline, not the best photos, but sure isn't the hair I have right now. I wanted your take on this because you have talked about the photo, the graying, the body hair, and the facial hair helps in you all figuring it out. And I definitely stand behind that. That's exactly what I believe. But I'm all over the map. You can make a video about this or just reply directly to me. It's fine. I would just like a little bit of perspective from someone who knows a lot about the subject. Thanks. To which I replied, I said, when I return, and this was a week ago, I said this, when I return, I will make a video response. So here's what I'm going to say about Rick. I like you, Rick. Here's the thing I like about you most, Rick. You've been paying attention. I like it when people pay attention. I like it when people watch enough of my videos to understand I have some definite theories that I think have some credibility. In the end, do I care if I'm right or wrong? Absolutely not. But I think it's interesting that we look at these general rules, and you've been keeping up with what I've been saying. So here's how I feel, Rick. My immediate response to you is you're not all over the place. The only thing that really kind of sets you in outside of the obvious this guy's not going to go bald set of rules is you're saying that you're hairy. I mean, so yeah, I mean, and I'll agree. If you've got hair on your shoulders, you know, that's typically a sign of a hairy guy. But I've also seen guys who are less hairy than me but have more hair on their shoulders. So I've seen that happen too. So it's a matter of you look at all my hair loss theories and you look at how many of these line up to you. So it's not a matter of perfectly falling into all the categories, but so maybe one doesn't apply, maybe two doesn't apply. But if 4 of my rules apply, then odds are in your favor. So undeniably, Rick, you're not going to go bald anytime soon. I will imagine that when you're 58, you will not be bald. I understand that your mother's father went bald, but based on even the 1-year-old photo, to see some receding, all that really may be, honestly, is more of a hairline like this. I mean, let's face it, let's think about this. Even if you made it to my age, 38, with this hair, would that really be the worst thing? Ultimately, to answer your question, you're not going to go bald anytime soon. You're going to be a guy who keeps most of his hair most of his life. You definitely fall more into the camp of this guy's not going to lose his hair versus is. Now, let's talk about, I want to close actually with the DNA part, because I consistently tell everybody, if you have Asian DNA or even Native American, which is ancient Asian DNA, then you're less likely to go bald sooner in life. You're also less likely to have body hair. So you're saying German and Irish. German is just going to be straight up just white guy. So, and in German, that could go either way. Basically, German DNA is arguably the same as French and Dutch. So when it comes to German, could go either way. But the Irish is a form of white DNA that, again, is less likely to go bald compared to, say, I think Belgium men go, or the Czech Republic. It's kind of that Eastern European mix a little bit, that they're often more likely to go bald. There's certain, you can do it. You can look at a map of Europe and do some research and figure out certain modern day nations based on their DNA that has lived there over the centuries. There could be a bald map. I should make it, but I'm not going to. I'm leaving that to you. There could very easily be a bald map of all the nations of the world, as far as which ones are more likely to go bald. And it'd be interesting, like for Mexico, for example. Mexican men, when I say Mexican, I know that Mexican is a nationality, but it's also arguably a predictable DNA combination of, I'd say a little more than half Native American DNA, often, and then the rest being Spanish, Portuguese, maybe Italian, some other things mixed in there, but still European. But when we're talking about Spanish DNA, we're also talking typically about Jewish and Middle Eastern, because that's, when you look at the history of Spain and Italy, that's a lot of what was going on. And then even when they converted to Christianity, they still had some of those Middle Eastern features. So you're putting that mix in, and of course Jewish and Middle Eastern, etc., they're in the same category as white men as far as their likelihood to be hairy and go bald sooner. Unlike Asian men, and I would even say unlike what I'm going to call Irish, or I guess we'd say Celtic, whatever you want to say. These things I think definitely matter, but imagine that if there was a map of the world and you can see, like, the likelihood you are to go bald if you are native to this country. And of course that means that you share the same basic DNA as most people in there, in the same way that predictably Japanese men have more similar DNA to each other than a man from, let me think of a random country, Bulgaria. Predictably, they have the same DNA based on people around you. Unless you're like the Chinese family that moved to Mexico 100 years ago, then you'd be the exception to the rule kind of thing. So, Rick, it's going to be fine. Thank you for asking, because it helps other people sort out where they stand in my made-up rules. And yes, they're made up, but I think I'm right. But does it matter that I'm right? Absolutely not. But I think I'm right. But it doesn't matter. Comments belong right here. It doesn't matter if I'm right.